Welcome back to the Clydesdale Media Podcast. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I'm the Clydesdale. I am so honored and privileged to have my guest with me, Jack Farlow, a qualifier for the Rogue Invitational. But we've got a lot to talk about, Jack. It's been about 6 months since I talked to you last.
Yeah, definitely lots new since then. So yeah, excited to get into it.
So we talked right before Atlas Games. Last year, you finished 19th at Atlas. This year, you go into Atlas. It's in person. And you finished 9th. So a pretty good improvement. How do you feel about how you did at Atlas?
Yeah, when you put it that way, I guess it sounds pretty good. I guess going into it was maybe hoping for a little bit more. I feel like I kind of succumbed to external pressure a little bit, like driving up there, I'm looking at what some like analyst people are saying and kind of letting that get to my head in a good way or a bad way. So yeah, whatever happened at Atlas happened. I mean, I honestly just don't think I was ready to be in that top 5 this year. So that's all right. I learned a ton from Atlas, more than any other comp I've really done. So kind of just taking that with me and a better athlete for it. So
What's the hardest aspect of that? The external expectations, or you have big time strengths, and you have some holes that you still need to fill. So it gives you kind of like a rocky competition where you're up and down. Is that harder to deal with, or the external pressure?
definitely that kind of roller coaster is tough. Not doing well in one event, it's really easy to kind of ride that wave and stay down there. But then also when you do well in an event, you kind of just got to let that one go too and just focus on the next. So really in both areas of that, after the first event, I was kind of over the moon. And then the second event rolls around and now I'm down in the slump. So it's kind of just both ways, just staying even keel throughout the competition. Once it kind of got started, I feel like I kind of cleared that mental headspace of what other people thought, and I was just there for myself at that point. So definitely that roller coaster is a bit more difficult to navigate.
So I read one of your coaching profiles, and it said if you could describe yourself in a hashtag, you said hashtag mindset matters.
Mm.
So I think that is really big, considering what we just talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially for me, just having confidence is like so big. I feel like at certain points of last year, I was either riding this high of like I can't be beat, or feeling like I was really lagging behind in certain areas. And the nice thing about this year so far is that doing all those things that I've kind of fell short in last year just helps me build confidence. So going into actually this last weekend competition, there are a lot of areas there that I've been really putting in work on. So just knowing that I've been doing that, I went into that competition saying, yeah, I'm ready for this. And definitely having that confidence, that mindset helps.
Do you look anywhere externally for mindset help, or is it something you just do on your own?
I've definitely tried. I feel like there's some good, Instagram accounts, things like that. Um, just hearing other athletes too, how they kind of go about it. But I feel like for the most part, I mean, I've been doing kind of competitive exercise for like a fair number of years now. So you kind of know what mindset works for you, what doesn't. And that was probably drawn off of little bits and pieces of a lot of people. So
You spent a lot of your life playing hockey.
mm-hmm.
Is the mindset different playing hockey than it is doing this?
Yeah, I would say so, especially just that team sport. You can kind of things might happen in that game that are completely out of your control. I mean, everyone always says that about CrossFit. But I mean, if you get like a bad no rep call, had you locked that out a little bit more, you probably wouldn't have gotten that. So sure, a bit outside your control, a bit inside your control, but especially in a team sport, like you're on the bench 2/3 of the game. So you kind of just have to let whatever happens happen. And if you mess up, someone else might be there to kind of pick up your slack. So just a lot more pressure, but I also feel like it's a lot more rewarding when things go right, that it's kind of just all you in that regard versus the team winning.
Did that take an adjustment for you to go from team sport to individual sport?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, when I started CrossFit, it kind of started as a let's train for hockey type thing, but very quickly turned into me enjoying that individualized CrossFit as a sport more than hockey. I actually remember one time in a playoff game, we were the first seeded team in hockey playing against the eighth, so like should be an easy win. And it was looking for a second there, like we might have lost. But I remember just being on the bench and thinking like, well, the Open's a month away. At least I'll get some training in. So for me, it was kind of easy to make that switch. We actually ended up winning that game, and we went all the way. So yeah, it was just a funny story there. But yeah, not a big deal to switch really.
So there was a point where you didn't have the passion for hockey that you had for CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about the Open on the bench of a hockey game, it probably shows where your mind is now.
Yeah. I very soon kind of realized that I enjoyed CrossFit a little bit more. Not to say I didn't like hockey by any means, but thankfully it kind of got to the point I was old enough in hockey where it's like if you're not going to be doing anything with it in terms of a career, it's probably time to take a step back. So that was luckily a good transition into CrossFit for me. I was playing hockey at a pretty high level, and then just moved way down to like a house league, play with some friends just once a week. And that's when I kind of put more of the marbles into CrossFit.
And your parents and family supported the move?
Yeah, I mean, like what's it to them for me to go to the gym? I was definitely inspired by like some of my older siblings to kind of get into CrossFit in the first place. And then as soon as I started competing, they were nothing but like all on board to support me at competitions. I feel like for my parents, it took a little while to kind of understand that training was a year-round thing that we did just so that we could compete like at this one point of the year. And I feel like even just now they're kind of realizing like, okay, this is like a full-time thing. And then doing this all year round allows us to have these like fun times at an Atlas or soon to be Rogue or those kind of things. So they're definitely getting more and more on board. And then a lot of my older siblings, like they got me into CrossFit, so they kind of knew what it was all about before me.
Do any of your older siblings compete?
No. Yeah, back in the day, a couple of them were super into it. Now they kind of just work out for fun every now and then. But no, they've probably done a local comp here and there, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So what was it like for your parents when you made the CrossFit Games as a teen?
Yeah, that was an interesting time. Again, they didn't really understand even like the qualifying process at that point. My brother-in-law, he kind of was my coach back then. He didn't do any of my program or anything, but whenever a competition would roll around, he would always kind of step in and fill that coaching role. So he came down for the weekend when we were doing the online qualifier, and my parents knew how big of a deal it was for me, but they like didn't really know how to follow along. And they didn't want to stress me out, so they were just talking to my brother-in-law nonstop about what was going on. But yeah, they came down to Madison for that, and they both lost their voice screaming for me. So they had a good time, I think.
Yeah, and that would give them a good picture of what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
If they saw any of the other parts of the competition. 19, all of it was going on at the same time, right?
Yeah. We might have started one day after the like 150 individuals did, but my memory could be foggy there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been so many iterations. It's hard to figure out which year was what still.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go to Atlas, you finish 9th, one spot out of the last chance qualifier. Would it have changed your perspective on how you felt you did had you finished 8th instead of 9th?
I don't think so. No. I guess like starting day 3, I was a bit bummed out already. I feel like in that way I was in a tough mental headspace, and I was kind of like I'm just not ready this year. What good is a last chance qualifier? Anyways, looking back on it, definitely would have been good to get that experience in. But no, I think I'd still be here sitting unless that last chance went incredibly well, I think I'd still have the same outlook on the year.
So then you go to Can West, which a lot of athletes who didn't go to the games went to, and you got to compete against some pretty high level talent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chandler Smith and James Sprague. How was that competition for you, where you ended up finishing fourth, but you got 2 event wins?
Yeah. A couple of reasons. That was, definitely a good competition for me in terms of just, again, learning. But I just compared that to Atlas, and I felt way more like myself there. And not even to say it was much better of a finish for me. I mean, fourth in that field, obviously there were some really good people, but it wasn't like a full semi of athletes. So I didn't even think it was that much better of a finish, but I definitely felt better just in terms of how the workouts were, and then also how some things went. I feel like at Atlas, I'd be middle of an event and be like, I've never felt like this before. Like, what's going on? Like I'm running thoughts through my head mid workout, which would just never happen in a training situation. And I feel like I was able to kind of find that better headspace at Can West there. And then the other thing was just kind of opened my eyes to like people just have strengths and weaknesses in this sport. Like it's kind of unlike anything else. You'll in like hockey or whatever other sport, you'll get behind like 2-0 in the first period, and odds are that team's probably better than you. Whereas CrossFit's a little bit different. Just the order of events means so much. Like you could start the weekend with your 2 best events and then fall off, or vice versa. So kind of just those 2 event wins, I was thinking like, man, no one can touch me in these, but we go do something else, and that's someone else's event. So it was kind of just interesting. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and it just for me about cleaning up those things that I'm not so good at. But definitely kind of opened my eyes to it's doable. Like you have your things, you just got to clean up the bad.
So I read somewhere that you're 20 years old. Are you still 20?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you pretty much aged into this group during COVID
Mm-hmm.
and lost the opportunity to compete in person for much of that stage. How important is it for you just to get reps on a competition floor?
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of what we're doing now. I mean, like Atlas, I hadn't done a big comp and like since the 2019 games, so like pretty fresh there. But yeah, that's kind of just what we thought. Like, we just got to learn to compete a little bit better. So last year I didn't do any big competitions during the year, and now I've already done Can West, Can East, and then Rogue coming up. So those are 3 pretty good ones. I'll probably take it a bit slower after that, kind of just get into some good training, and then the Open's right around the corner. But definitely there's something to be said about being a good competitor.
So it was hard to watch stuff from Can West because it wasn't streamed. We tried to cover it as a media company and we watched a lot of IG lives.
Hmm.
But the moment in I think it was HWPO selection where you were going head to head with Chandler,
Mm-hmm.
how good was that for you to have that experience in a live competition?
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the weekend. Especially that obviously that event being strong is a big part of it, but I was a little bit scared. Like the reps do add up there, and if it gets into like some sort of barbell cycling, more cardio type workout, then maybe that's not my jam anymore. So to be able to go into that, and I remember just on those workouts that I do really well on, there's something to be said just about the headspace you're in. And so, or in the early rounds, if anyone doesn't know the workout, it was an increasing weight of basically Macho Man on the clock. In the early rounds, those guys, I remember James and Chandler beside me would actually like finish before me. But I remember just thinking, no, you're good. Like you're feeling fine. And then as those later rounds got on, I kind of just stayed smooth. And then it kind of just came down to me and Chandler, which I never met him before, but tremendous respect for the guy. Meeting him, super nice guy, and then crazy athlete as well. So definitely something to look up to. And then just coming down to that choose your own weight section of that, seeing that like I can beat these type of guys if you give me the right event. that was pretty cool.
So that's an event that going in, you probably have very high expectations in.
Mm-hmm.
Your strength is through the roof. Do you get more nervous for those events or the ones that you are not necessarily your strength?
I think I'm in a better headspace for the ones that I think I'll do better at, actually. I don't know. I have confidence in what I can do in those type of events, and I feel like the ones that I'm maybe not so good at, I feel like there's more variance in how it could go, and that kind of uncertainty, I guess, is what gives me the nervousness. So, I'd say the ones actually that I'm not so made for would get me a bit more nervous.
I think that's a great headspace to be in at your age, to have that confidence in what you can do. And as you get better at the other things, that should follow along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So super stoked about that. So I want to get into the Rogue qualifier because I have some very interesting questions there. You finished fourth, uh, pretty good field to finish fourth in. First question: there was a lot of people who didn't read the instructions right.
Mm-hmm.
Did you fall into any of that, or did you escape without any of the video review stuff from Rogue?
Yeah, I was all clean on all the events. I definitely gave a pretty solid read through of everything. It was a bit tedious with all the weights, but yeah, I did what they said, and it worked out fine for me. So
So the qualifier leaderboards, a little bit hard to understand, but I think you finished third in event one, which was the thruster, step up, deadlift, bar muscle up workout.
mhm.
Then WOD 2, that's where the surprise came in for me. The row handstand push-ups, you won.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when we talked before Atlas, you said one of your weaknesses were handstand push-ups. However, your training partner was really good at them. So you didn't know if you were just worse than them or if you were really bad at them. Well, apparently you're not too bad at them.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing about working out with someone who's probably the best in the world at a certain movement. I didn't feel overly good about myself in that regard. And then last quarterfinals rolls around, there's that handstand push-up workout, and I knew how that kind of workout should feel. So like I had confidence I could do everything unbroken, and then that turned into like a super high finish on the leaderboard. So I was saying, like maybe I am okay at handstand push-ups. And then we go to Atlas.
Uh-oh, we
A bit
froze up a
more.
little bit here. Oh, there you
Oh,
go. You're coming back.
yeah. So just quarterfinals and Atlas handstand push-up workouts. Went super well. So a bit more confidence there. And now I kind of like feel like, yeah, I'm pretty decent at them. And then that workout actually was the only one I redid. And so when I did it the first time, um, I was a bit too careful on the row, and then my handstand push-ups at the end didn't blow up, but had to take a couple breaks. And then I submitted all my scores Sunday evening, and I was looking at the leaderboard thinking, yeah, I don't think I have enough. So I went back to the gym that night. It was probably 7 o'clock, and that's the one I redid, and I really just went for it. Like if you blow up, you blow up. So I ended up rowing 150-ish cals an hour faster, and then my handstand push-ups were way faster too. They just a better day on those kind of things. So yeah, I ended up beating my score by I think like a minute 10 or something there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you go into the clean and jerk ladder, which I would have thought you would have be like top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the toes to bar aspect of that?
Yeah. So I think I'm decent at gymnastics actually, outside of toes to bar. I think that's maybe become my worst CrossFit movement. I mean that's all right. We've been really working on them. But yeah, it's actually more of just a grip limitation than the toes to bar in general. I find on all the other gymnastics movements, I can kind of find a time to release my grip a little bit, or just something about the kipping motions a little bit different. But something about toes to bar, yeah, my grip just blows up. So I had to end up breaking the sets of 7 there, and then just holding on to a barbell even got tough. So yeah, something we've been working on, but the strength wasn't the issue on that workout. It was that grip fatigue moving from toe to bar onto the bar.
Is that an event you could see yourself trying again in the future to see how your improvement is?
Maybe. I haven't done much of that. I feel like repeating workouts for me I just assume I've gotten better, which is maybe a good thing and a bad thing. Like I said, riding that confidence, it really works for me. But then again, if I knew I was gonna crush it and I could go and do it again, that probably would even help my confidence more. So likely won't do it again in the near future, but who knows, maybe down the road.
Then you go to WOD 4, you finish 6th, and that's a front squat burpee shoulder to overhead. How did you feel about that to finish the weekend?
Yeah, I was pretty proud of that one. Very rarely in the past have I been able to kind of find a burpee pace and maintain it unless it's like some sprinty kind of workout. So, I mean, that was 9 minutes, so you kind of gotta find your pace and hold it. And I was super happy with how I was able to do that. Honestly, looking at these workouts, when before kind of the weekend started, I had no expectations of qualifying. Just thought it'd be good to get little online competition experience in, and then see where the cards fall, see what we have to work on. And then the workouts came out, and I was even like, man, maybe I shouldn't even do these because these aren't home runs for me at all. And then I just did them, and kind of one by one, I was like, man, these might be going pretty well actually. And then so finished out that fourth one, and then like I said, redid that last one. So I was super happy with that one in particular. The only one I was maybe like, oh, that could have gone a bit better was that toe to bar clean and jerk one. But yeah, just a grip thing to work on there.
It's funny you say that because we talked to Scott Tetlow as well.
Yeah.
And he said that he didn't even tell his wife he was doing them. He was just doing them for fun because they were workouts to do. And then he's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing so well. He had to tell her that he was doing the fourth one because he had to break a date with her.
Yeah.
And explain to her that he may make it to Rogue and what a big deal that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, something about going in with that no expectations headspace probably helps. So yeah.
So now you've made it to Rogue, one of the premier events, probably other than the CrossFit Games, like the premier event, because they only take the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
How excited are you for the opportunity to get out on the floor with the best athletes in the sport to see where you're at?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like top 15 at the games. So yeah, like you said, best of the best is a type of experience I've never had before. But I'm absolutely just going in to like make the most of it. Like I have no expectations on myself. I don't think anyone else really does either. There are going to be some good events. I'm sure there are going to be some bad events. So I plan to just take away what I can and like be happy with the fact that I got the experience either way. So that's kind of my headspace going into it.
So typically Rogue is a power output type event because they want to feature their equipment, their stuff. And because it's combined with strongman, you get a little bit of strongman stuff in there too. Have you watched the Rogue Invitational in the past? And do you know what you're kind of getting into?
Yeah. I think they're cool events. Like looking back on the programming, I think it'd be pretty good for me and pretty fun if I do say so myself. So hopefully it kind of stays like that. But again, if there's something that totally throws me for a loop, that's not necessarily a bad thing in the grand scheme of things. The goal is to be as good as I can for the next CrossFit season. So this will kind of help me out either way, but it would definitely be nice if there's some home runs in there for me too.
And they are known for taking care of their athletes, really treating them well. You get a travel stipend to get there. That doesn't happen everywhere. As a young athlete, that probably helps tremendously.
Yeah, huge. Especially like I'm full-time in school, and that's definitely not cheap either. So to take time off of school to go and do these things, the last thing you want to be doing is burning a hole in your pocket in that regard too. So it's already super stressful to kind of have to step away from school. Classes are still going on. But to kind of ease your mind on the financial burden is definitely nice, and just kind of speaks to how quality of a competition that Rogue's running here.
And the swag is out of this world. It is at a games level. I've told the other athletes I volunteered last year, and I was in the area where they got fitted for boots, hats. Go Ruck gave them a huge bag of stuff. How excited are you for the swag part of this whole thing?
Yeah, I remember seeing that the cowboy boots and hats on Instagram last year. I'm really hoping they do something like that again. That'd be pretty cool. But I feel like that type of thing, at least for me, will never get old. Just like getting all that new gear, it's always exciting, regardless of the level you're at, I think. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
So you talk about school. You're majoring in systems design engineering.
I actually just switched into biomedical engineering. So very similar first 2
Well,
years.
that seems easier.
Yeah, the switch is pretty smooth, but yeah, it just kind of allows me to combine my passion for anything like human body related into engineering. So
And so that's how you got into that major. Was it just meshes the passion you have in life with fitness and the human body? How much has it helped you in preparation for different things?
so far, very, very little, I would say. Yeah, the first couple of years are kind of just general courses. So in fourth year, I'm actually going to specialize in what they call sports engineering. And that there's a lot of like movement mechanics and things like that in there. So I could see that actually helping out, I mean, later on in CrossFit. The one thing with school that is a bit surprising is just knowing that I'm doing something in terms of not necessarily a plan B, but just like I'll be set for the future regardless of what happens in CrossFit. I think some people would see that it's like, oh, you're not going like all in. But I just see that as taking a bit of weight off. I'm still doing the same amount of training as I would if I had all day. I'm still in bed for 9 hours. I'm still stretching. I just don't get the time to maybe like relax and watch Netflix, which I don't know, maybe that's beneficial for performance in terms of just letting the mind go. But yeah, having that kind of backup plan, if you will, I think just makes training actually a bit easier. So that's not to say after school that I'll never kind of put all my chips into CrossFit, even for a little bit. But for the near future, that's what I'm going for.
What would happen if you qualify for the games? Would you ever take like a semester off to focus on that season? I
Yeah,
know others have done that in the past.
it's tough to say. My program isn't very courteous of things going on like that. Like I can't do part time, so I actually have I'm in a co-op program, so every other term is a co-op, and those can kind of be more easily skipped. And then it's also hard to say because I would qualify for the games during that same school term I'd be in for the games. So you'd kind of really have to have a lot of confidence that it's going to happen there, which I don't know. I feel like it might be able to be done even with school going on.
Yeah, I mean, people have gone to med school
Yeah,
and made the games,
exactly.
so it definitely can be done.
Mhm.
Um, you're a coach. Are you coaching presently, or is that just too much to add onto your plate?
Just 2 hours a week right now, so very little. Yeah.
Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah. I think I wouldn't want to do it like full time or anything, but it's definitely like a rewarding thing to just see kind of like members come in and really get better at something and walk away happy to get their workout in. So to facilitate that a little bit, yeah, it's a rewarding thing.
With the way Canada has been representing at the CrossFit Games, what kind of national pride do you have when you see all the names on the leaderboard with the Canadian flag now?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Even just like growing up, the Vellners and Fikowskis kind of leading the way is someone to look up to, and they're still there today. So definitely pretty cool. And then you kind of just hope to get in there yourself, put another Canadian flag on the map. So
Yeah, because you have the Vignos, the Corones, Adler. Like it's getting pretty stacked on the men's side.
yeah, absolutely. So feel that at Atlas a little bit, but you're gonna have to beat them at some point in the season. So
It's funny you said growing up, the Vellners and the Fikowskis. Like I started CrossFit in 2011 when it was the Lucas Parkers and the Camille LeBlanc Bazinets,
yeah,
Michelle Laton.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm a little bit older.
yeah, that's fair enough. I've been watching. I think I've been watching since 2013, but I really didn't get into it till into 15 or 16. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think you've already answered this question. You're going to slow down after Rogue. So no Dubai, no Wadapalooza, not doing any of those qualifiers.
no, none of that. If I had gotten an invite to one of them, then maybe I'd think about it. But just to throw another qualifier in there right now wasn't worth it.
Yeah, my gym did one of the Wadapalooza qualifiers today as a workout.
Yeah,
Definitely underestimated it on paper, that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Wadapalooza always makes some tough qualifier workouts. That's for sure.
It was the 3 hang power snatch, 3 overhead squat, 30 double under, and
Yeah,
then 6 30, 9 30.
yeah. We actually did that one just as like a throwdown around here. So I did that one too.
Yeah, that was good.
Mhm.
Um, you went to Proven this off season. You got
Yeah,
a chance to go down there for a week, train with those guys. What was that like for you?
that was cool. We were actually just there for Saturday and Sunday, so just 2 days of training. But um, some just really cool things, just kind of seeing how like they operate, all full-time athletes. So they got kind of nothing else to think about. They'd get there pretty early and stay pretty late, and just take their time with things, which is interesting and cool to be a part of, really, for a weekend. Um, just like the attention to each piece that they put in also was pretty cool. Like it's kind of easy to just start checking things off, but seemed like everything they did, they really had a good intention for on what they wanted to work on going in. And then obviously just great athletes. So surrounding yourself with those type of people is never hurts.
So on a more like 30,000 foot level, what have you learned most about yourself this season?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've had some ups and downs just in terms of like having confidence in yourself, but I feel like in the last couple of months I really found my groove in that regard. Like I feel like I have everything it takes. It's just a matter of putting in the work and allowing that to kind of express itself. So I'm kind of just here for the work to be put in, and accepting of like however long it takes basically is the mindset I'm in now. And that's not something I could maybe say 6, 7 months ago.
So that kind of leads to my next question. And I really want this podcast to be about you, but you have a training partner that has excelled at a very rapid rate.
Hmm.
How hard is it for you to stay patient when you see that happening beside you?
Um, if anything, I feel like it makes me feel closer than I am. Like I see what she does every day. And like no one was really expecting her to do as well as she did, but she definitely deserved to do that well. Like that, what we saw at the games was exactly the level that she has. So just to be surrounded by that every day, it kind of seems like not as crazy as it really, really is. And then the other thing is just, yeah, it's just obviously people, especially from the teenage to the open division, just go at different levels. But the thing I like to look at is I basically think of myself as just being a year behind her. Not that I think I'm going to be sixth at the games next year by any means, but just like our quarterfinal and semifinal rankings, I basically just trailed her by a year. So she was ninth at Atlas last year. This year I was ninth. So hopefully if I just keep making those jumps that she's been making, like that's good news for me.
Yeah, I always was curious about that with like the Pancheck twins, right? You're working out with your brother every day, and one of you make the games and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And like what is that like? And does that put extra pressure on the training partner that didn't make it?
Hmm.
Um, but you're still young, and it's kind of been shown that the male athlete takes a little bit longer to go from teen to open division than it does for the females.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
So
definitely,
I
yeah.
think you're on track.
Hmm. And the other thing is, like, obviously I made the games in 2019. It's now 2022. I really don't feel like I've only been training at like trying to make the games level for probably just under 2 years. Like, I'm the teenage games is just like yeah, I spent 2 hours in the gym every day after school and I could make the games. But it's just a whole another level of commitment and dedication to like be training at that level to make the games in the open division. And I feel like it hasn't been since I started with my coach now that like I've really been putting in the work. So even like age wise, some people are already doing it my age, but I feel like I like still haven't paid my time basically.
And who is your coach?
Josh Woolley.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is he newer to the sport? Because it's not a name I know, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. He could have been doing this behind the scenes for a while.
I mean, I feel like back in the day, he was kind of trying to be the athlete, like just like throwing down kind of locally, and then kind of made that switch. He kind of was the one that got Emma into competing, into CrossFit. So yeah, like he knows a lot about CrossFit, and he's been coaching her for the past like 2-3 years maybe. Actually, maybe 3 or 4. So he definitely knows his stuff now. I have full faith in him, and I mean, he's not super like well established. Like he's never coached athletes at the games before Emma. So sure, call it what you want, but he definitely knows his stuff, and history has shown that he knows what he's doing. So yeah.
Yeah, coaching the two of you, you're doing really well at a
Mhm.
very young age. He's doing something right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
um and he probably needs more kudos than he's getting right now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think he'll just continue to like build a name for himself over the next couple of years, and seeing enough, he'll be like the coach to have. So yeah.
So how did you get connected? Did you know Emma before you started training there? Or did you guys just start training together and that's how you guys met and the whole
Yeah, so I used to live like an hour away from where I do now. Um, and then yeah, just you kind of know the CrossFit people like in the general area of you, especially like the more competitive people. We did a competition together in 2019, just after the games. And then when I was looking at like schools to go to, there's one here, and it had everything I needed. So it was kind of a double whammy, like going to school, but then this gym with all these great athletes. Like Emma's there, but both the owners are very, very good. And then there's also a couple other kind of more competitive members. So I thought that was kind of like half the reason that I ended up choosing the school I did was to train there.
and it seems to be working out great
Yeah.
in all aspects of your life.
Yeah. You definitely can't just go into every gym and have them be like as accommodating to an athlete as you kind of need them to be to excel. So yeah, definitely a good spot I'm in.
And the gym is very open to your school schedule and all of that.
Yeah, I'm able to go in kind of in like some off hours. Um, yeah, it's kind of you don't want to take up the whole gym when there are classes going on, obviously. So I kind of try to avoid that time as much as possible. But yeah, they're super accommodating.
So I have to ask, it's been gnawing at me the whole time. You have a poster behind you of a dog in an astronaut suit.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like some good artwork on the wall. That's actually like the Dogecoin crypto symbol, but I just like some good artwork. I have some drawings here from my nieces as well, so just put some artwork on the
Very
wall.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different picture, and I had to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, who all is going with you to Rogue? Are you taking family with you?
Sadly not. No. My parents were dying to come, but they kind of just couldn't make it work, and it's like a pretty hefty trip there too. So yeah, no one in my immediate family will be coming. I'm just gonna kind of bunk with our coach there, and all my family will just be watching from back here.
Well, you got to grab somebody to help you carry your swag. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
won't be able to do it yourself.
Definitely checking a bag. So yeah.
So, how early are you getting there?
We're gonna leave on the Tuesday, a pretty early flight. So basically, have all of Tuesday or a fair chunk of Tuesday there. Wednesday will be check-in, and then get started for the weekend after that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do live shows covering the event. If you could, we'd love for you to jump on and give us like some play-by-play as to what's going on. Having volunteered with them for every year until this year, there's a lot of downtime because of the strongman events, and you only really get 2 events a day,
Right.
with a lot of breaks. So if you have time, we'll shoot you a message and see if we can get you on and see how you're doing and how it's going for you.
Sounds good. All right.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for jumping on with me. It's been a joy to catch up with you, and I can't wait to see what you do next season.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.